What's up, everybody? It's Alex G coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. It's another episode of Havlicek Stole the Pod. With me, as always, the Dr. Justin Quinn, as well as Daniel Donabedian, and our special guest today, Sam LaFrance of How About Them Celtics and Hardwood Houdini. Sam, what's going on? How are you?
Doing well. Excited to join the pod today. Happy to see everybody. It's been a little while, but definitely happy to be back. It is August, the most exciting time of the year to be
That's
in this
what we're always
space.
saying. Yep.
So we definitely have a fun show on the way. There's no doubt about it. I'm looking at this sheet right now. You can't tell me any different.
There you go. Well, you heard it here first, dear listener. It's fun times in the NBA, mid to late August. Let's get it. Dr. Quinn, how's it going in Mexico City?
It's going. I just, for the first time ever, actually had my paperwork in better order than my wife, doing some license renewal stuff. Mexican tramites, or like bureaucracy, is notoriously fickle, and I won today.
Nice. Daniel, what's going on with you, man?
I've been good. Like you said, it's been a bit busier, more news, so that's good and bad. But yeah, it's good to be back in Massachusetts.
For sure. Not much happening here in Brooklyn. It is a beautiful day, so I'm going to try and get outside as soon as possible. But before then, let's get into it. So there is some news to talk about. It's not a ton, but it's more than it has been. Let's jump in with the most relevant and recent. Boston Celtics have extended head coach Joe Mazzulla. Daniel, you have more on the details about this. What does this extension look like? And then let's go around the horn. How are we feeling about the Joe extension? Daniel, you're first.
Yeah, well, as for details, I still don't think we have the numbers yet. I think hasn't been disclosed. But I mean, I was literally next to Joe yesterday, and nothing from his demeanor would tell you that something like this was coming down the pipe. But I'm sure they were already talking about it. As for my thoughts, I'm a fan of it. I think it's good to get him in right now before kind of what's going to be a bump in the road prior to the last successful 3 seasons they've had. I think it helps to have a constant and know like that Joe's going to be in for the ride no matter what, no matter how the potentially rough season goes. And I think he's the right man for the job. He's done a great job so far. Brad trusts him. So I think in turn, most of us should trust him too.
Sam, we're going to swing it to you. Thoughts on the Joe Mazzulla extension? Take it any way you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's no part of Joe's resume so far that should make you feel like he hasn't done at least an above average job with the Celtics. Like, I'm sure there are people out there that feel like they should have been more successful in some of these playoff runs. Like 2023, you can say they lost to an 8-seed Heat team last year, or this past season rather. Like, doesn't really feel like they should have lost to the Knicks. Didn't feel like it going in, but it happened, and it was unfortunate, and the series unfolded maybe the worst way possible. Yet his coaching record is unbelievable. The winning percentage is unbelievable. The only thing like that I think is interesting in all of this is the point that Dan made, where they've done it before this season, where his strategic player management, whatever you want, maybe personality management, is going to be tested to the max. Like, this will tell you a lot about Joe as a coach. And I think the organization has every reason to be confident in him because the team has been successful since he took over. But this is going to be a real indicator of how he's going to fare when the team isn't built to be the best in the league. It's built the way it's built right now. And it's unfortunate. And a lot of the success is going to be maximized by him if it happens.
Justin, our resident historian, you have a lot of thoughts on Celtics coaches past and present. You've seen some really good extensions. You've seen some really bad extensions. Where do you think this one's going to fall?
I think it's probably too early to say. What it does tell us is that the Celtics expect to be contending again soon, because if they didn't, I'm not sure they would be keeping him around. It also suggests that they feel that he has not lost the locker room in any kind of substantial way with the key players that he's going to need to. I'm not so sure they're too worried about whether Luka Garza buys in or not, but they know that the people that they need to have him coaching when they do start contending again are at least for now, completely behind him. That could totally change depending on how things go on. Bill Fitch, to go back to history, amazing coach, but he lost the locker room, and the necessity of changing coaches just happened. I think that in today's NBA, one of the, I guess you could say, things that you can mess around with the most, and we are kind of seeing that with a bunch of franchises paying multiple coaches simultaneously, is the salaries of coaches do not impact your salary cap situation. So in that regard, they would be free to experiment so much as they are willing to pay a guy to do nothing. And they may end up doing that if this all goes sideways, but I think it tells us pretty strongly that they have a good degree of belief that this is not going to be a major issue for Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, it's like all of you have said, if they believed that they were not going to be contenders anytime soon, the extension's not happening. But it seems to be an indication of their plans that they are trying to get back in the mix of things. And, you know, we've seen Joe Mazzulla be effective with a good roster. Obviously, like, you know, the playoff disappointments are what they are, but the guy won the title. The players bought in fully to that. And there's no reason to think that they won't. The only thing that I will throw out there is that we have seen some recent extensions for coaches that we thought were pretty safe that did not end up being safe. Mike Malone comes to mind as the obvious one who was extended and then fired within the same calendar year. Sometimes these extensions do not necessarily end up being a guarantor of future job security. But nonetheless, Joe Mazzulla is here to stay, at least for this upcoming season, and I'm fine with it. I think he's a good coach. A couple other things related to Joe Mazzulla, who is from Rhode Island. Jason Tatum was spotted in Rhode Island at a Celtics event, as well as at the Patriots and Commanders joint practice and a Providence community event. And there were a couple of notable things about Jason Tatum's most recent sighting. Daniel, we're going to kick it to you again. Anything that we should take note of there?
Yeah, I was there yesterday, Sam's neck of the woods, actually. But he looked pretty good. I'd just say walking around, even going upstairs. He seemed to be in high spirits too, which is always nice. And if I was a member of his like team or his crew, I would have been a little nervous because there were a lot of people and they were like literally swarming him, like walking in his footsteps, surrounding him. He did not have a lot of space, so you never want to see like a misstep or anything like that. But overall, he looked good. And then Rich Gotham, the Celtics president, later spoke, and he said Tatum's been doing well, coming to the facility, his rehab's progressing well. So far, all positive signs. Does that mean he's coming back anytime soon? No, but just still good to see and hear that things are trending up.
For sure. Seems like that's kind of been the word for the Celtics the entire offseason with regard to Jason Tatum is things are pretty good, but also don't get your expectations up too high. Wink, wink. Speaking of Jason Tatum and his Olympic teammate, Derek White, the episode 2 of the White Noise podcast is out, on which they discuss the Olympics, Las Vegas Summer League, and a couple other fun things. Thoughts? Sam, did you listen to the latest episode of the Derek White podcast?
I didn't listen to it, but I did see some of the different tidbits. My favorite was probably him discussing, ironically, Tatum, who we've been talking about, and Tatum's challenge to him to get more technical fouls. Derek White's never gotten a technical foul, and Tatum's like, listen, man, we're not going to respect you until you do it. And Jordan Walsh was the person they pointed out, made fun of, where he gets ejected from the Summer League game, which is like unheard of. Nobody cares enough about Summer League to get themselves tossed from Summer League. Never mind if they're having like the best possible game that they could be having at Summer League. And yet Jordan Walsh managed to do it. So I'm sure he's got the utmost respect of his teammates after that. But are we going to see mad Derek White this year? Probably not. But if he had the same technical whistle that Tatum had, maybe. Like Tatum will just clap at the refs and get text. Like the tech compilation of Jason Tatum is crazy.
God forbid clapping happen in an NBA game. I mean, that's just, against everything that we stand for as basketball fans in the league. I just can't think of anything or any player that would deserve technicals more than doing something so openly hostile as clapping. That would never happen. Anyway, moving on. So a couple other quick hitters as far as news goes. Sportico is reporting that the Boston Celtics sale is going to be fully official in the next 2 weeks, pending a Board of Governors vote, which may effectively be done already, but they're going to do it probably over Zoom. Everything suggests that Bill Chisholm is fully in line to be the next controlling owner of the Boston Celtics, and that nothing is going to stop that. We'll have an update for you there in 2 weeks, but perhaps more interesting with regard to the NBA Boston Celtics sale is the guy who didn't end up getting the team, Steve Pagliuca, reportedly tried to buy the Connecticut Sun and then move them to Boston. There was much hubbub about this, but it seems like things are maybe not as clear cut. Sam, take us through what's happening here as far as Pag's quest to bring a WNBA team, specifically the Connecticut Sun, to Boston.
Well, it sounds like he's interested for sure, and he didn't really want to speak on it. He put out a whole statement on his Twitter. I don't know that much about it personally. It would be nice to have them in Boston, that's for sure.
I disagree, but that's...
You don't think it would be nice to have a team in Boston?
I'm from Connecticut.
Mr. Connecticut has thoughts on this.
Well, they should move it to Hartford. I don't know.
They should move it to Hartford.
Strange place for the team. Like Connecticut as a market is.
I completely
The only reason
agree.
why it's not is because of UConn. I was like, all right, well, it kind of makes sense. Like the legacy of women's basketball in Connecticut.
Look,
means a
I'm the
lot, so
biggest
having a
Husky
team
fan
there-
out there. And I agree with you that even the UConn reason is not a good reason to have it on that side of the state. It's a terrible spot for a basketball team.
I mean, it's closer to Rhode Island. That's good.
It is. For you, it would be good.
Yeah.
It much like this recent bout of crosstalk, the sale is messy, clearly. So what we have written here is that Bill Chisholm wants in on an expansion team, but it could take up to 5 years, given that the WNBA has already promised a number of teams or a number of cities that they will be first in line for expansion teams. Mark Lazary has got a group that is attempting to move the Connecticut Sun to Hartford, as Justin mentioned. But their process has also been messed up, and now they might not have a team. And the WNBA seems pretty eager to engage in some other markets. So there's like 5 people vying for the future of the Connecticut Sun. The only thing that seems apparent is that the Connecticut Sun will probably not be in their current location going forward, but nobody knows what's happening here. Steve Pagliuca seems pretty intent on bringing the Sun to Boston, which, if you're a WNBA fan in Boston, would be pretty cool. But right now, it's a little too chaotic to make any hay of it. We'll talk a little more about this later. Other quick hitters, things that we should maybe stay in touch about. Neemias Queta, who is the presumed Boston Celtics starting center on opening night, had off-season knee surgery per Bobby Marks, but it's healed enough. Bobby Manning, my bad. Per Bobby Manning, that surgery has healed enough that he can get 15-7 in an exhibition game with FIBA versus Spain. And speaking of exhibition games, I saw that Pro-Am Peyton Pritchard is back at it again, dropping 68 in his Pro-Am game today. So standard offseason Peyton Pritchard, just going and obliterating some poor souls in a Pro-Am game. Thoughts on the Queta knee surgery or on Pro-Am Pritchard continuing to dominate? Anyone?
Yeah, I'd say for Queta at least, it's kind of crazy how that story, maybe like 2 years ago, his injury update, that'd be nothing. It'd be like a tweet and people would be like, oh, okay. But now this year it's like, oh, that might be the starting center who just had knee surgery. And now it's like such a way bigger of a deal. But if he's ready to play already and play for his country too, because FIBA or Eurobasket's going to be intense. Like it's not just like not summer league. It's even more than that. So it's a big story, and hopefully he'll be good and ready to go, like Jaylen Brown kind of is. I think they had the same like arthroscopic surgery on their knees, but
You can get a lot of surgeries arthroscopically, but I mean, sometimes they do not go well, and this looks like it did.
yeah.
Yeah, seems like it went okay. And, worst comes to worst, if Neemias Queta cannot go or is injured at any point this season, Charles Bassey's still trying to stay in the NBA, per latest reports. Will he stay in the NBA with the Boston Celtics? That's a TBD. They've got an open roster spot, but Charles Bassey does not have a contract, at least at this time. Perhaps the most important thing that we should talk about amidst all of this news is that the Boston Celtics made a trade recently. So we'll close the news out with this. George Niang, thank you for your 2 weeks of service as a Boston Celtic. You are out of here heading to the Utah Jazz and their flush cap space, along with 2 second-round picks. In return, the Boston Celtics get 8.2 million TPE, which gets them further out of the second apron and almost not quite, but pretty close to out of the first apron and dodging the tax altogether. And they also acquire the rights to RJ Lewis Jr. The picks in question, the 2027 most favorable second rounder of the Celtics Orlando swap that they did at the draft, as well as the 31 most favorable of the Celtics and Cleveland swap from a while back. All this is to say they're cutting their payroll and luxury tax in total by about 50 million in this offseason. They're just 1.7 million above the first apron and 9.4 above the luxury tax per Yossi Goslin, our cap expert who we had on our last episode. And then on top of that, they have acquired Chris Boucher to a 1-year vet minimum at $3.3 million. So George Niang and second round picks out, Chris Boucher in, and the Celtics save a decent chunk of change. That's the headline. Sam, take it where you want to take it. You're up first.
This is a sad discussion because when you do the long algebraic equation for this, Porzingis turns into RJ Lewis Jr., who was undrafted, even though all the reports that are out this week are like, man, the Celtics love this guy. They loved him so much that they traded back for 2 extra draft picks and didn't draft him still. And you had to give up an extra second-round pick. It's like technically you net -1 second-round picks through this because you got 1 back for Porzingis. You gave up 2 in this Niang trade, and you save roughly $5 million with the Niang to Boucher salaries. That is a tough return for a guy who, granted, wasn't largely available in the playoffs, but was a real contributor when he was healthy in the regular season. He was a really exciting player, dynamic player. He was like the perfect tertiary scoring option for these guys too. He was a great third option at the nail and was really dominant from there until the playoffs came around this year. It was unbelievable. But yeah, people are excited about RJ Lewis Jr. Pretty cool that his actual name is Reggie Lewis, even though it's spelled differently.
Yeah.
That's the cool tidbit. But he's on this 2-way deal, and Amari Williams is still not signed, who people were excited about when they drafted him. And now there's this weird logjam of the 2-way spots, which is probably going to be Miles Norris gone just because he's the same position as Lewis. He's older. They probably just would value keeping Amari Williams, who they just drafted instead of him, right? But yeah, overall good for the second apron and the salary constraints, which are very serious. As much as this all sucks, they have avoided serious basketball penalties for overspending. But at the same time, if those things were not existent, in 20 years, when people forget that this was a thing, when the CBA has been changed because it's also terrible, they're going to be like, they got what for Porzingis? They traded Drew Holiday for what? They blew up that team. Why? And we're living in the sad reality where it actually matters that they had to do those things.
Any thoughts on the Chris Boucher fit, Daniel or Justin? Either one.
I like it. I've been saying it on this podcast for the last, 3 or 4 episodes. They needed another big guy. And they got Boucher, which is a proven track record of Brad getting the guys who burn them, like Delano Banton, Brissett. Now we got Boucher, and he has some synergy with Peyton Pritchard from back in Oregon. He can shoot decently well. I think there's something to be said that he was the last Raptor left from the championship team. I know he wasn't a main contributor, but still he kept getting re-signed and re-signed. So they had to like him around there for a reason. He's got decent size. I don't think it moves the needle for them per se, but I think it's good for them to get another body in there, especially a big man.
The only thing I would add
Justin?
to that is just that he's more of a flexible player than I think a lot of people realized coming in when he was like first being described as joining the team. We didn't see too much of him even playing in the East, just because he is most of his career he's been like a 20-minute a game player. So it's not that big of a deal that most of us weren't super familiar with him. But I do want to say that he has mostly played 4, kind of some 5, but has played down in some seasons as much to the 3. And he's not really built to be a 3. He's a little too slow and clunky, not really skilled enough to be a 3. But I mean, against second units and particularly against some kinds of teams, if you need him to fill in that kind of a role, he can, which is actually really important for a really unproven reserve roster for this team.
Yeah, he kind of, the comp I would have is like profoundly broke to the point of having sold everything man's Aaron Gordon. Kind of switchable wing, can hit a corner 3, can size up or size down depending on the matchup, and is probably best used as a guy who can capably slide in as a borderline starter at the 4 and really is more valuable as a bench 5 in small ball units. I like Chris Boucher. I think he's fine. The one thing I will say for Celtics fans who maybe are used to, bigs like Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale dominating the boards is Chris Boucher is not going to be that guy averaging 4.5 rebounds for his career. That's not really his specialty, but also the Celtics don't really play that way. I think it's a fine signing. I don't necessarily know that Chris Boucher will be a part of the Boston Celtics long-term multi-year plans, but as a flyer, why not? And he's cheaper than George Niang. Sorry to any Celtics fans who are really hoping that you would see Massachusetts native George Niang suit up in green this year.
Me too.
It was
Yeah.
me.
Me too.
I thought everyone was too mean to him. Really aggravated me.
I will say the reaction to George Niang being on the team was a little weird. It's like, all right, I get it. He and Jaylen Brown got pretty chippy with each other in a couple playoff series. Guys, Jaylen's fine with him. It's not that big a deal. Anyway, we're going to leave it there with the news. That's what we have for the news. And we're going to jump into a closer look at the Celtics competition in the Eastern Conference with a little over-under action. But first, it's time for the steal, the namesake of the podcast. Sam, you're taking over. What do you want to talk about that's not on the rundown?
Well, I really just want to complain about things. It's kind of the thing that I do.
Please.
This has been, let's see, it's like 8 days into August, which, by the way, this is the worst time of year. Said at the beginning of the pod, like terrible, not a lot going on for basketball. Not a summer guy just because I literally have nothing to do. I would
That's
like
a
there to be
controversial
games
take,
on.
but fair enough.
It is definitely a controversial take. People disagree with me. So last week, football preseason starts. They have the Hall of Fame game. People, you would thought it was Christmas. People online tweeting like it's the happiest day of their year because they get to watch a game that means nothing between two teams that they don't care about. It is the most insufferable fan. Like the NFL people, they're the worst. They're the worst. Jack gave me pushback on this when I said it to him. He's like, "Well, in basketball,
I'm with you.
He'll be the same
I'm
way."
with you.
Wow.
It's terrible.
One sport man. Sorry, can't help it.
I like college football. I just think
Yeah.
they overdo it. They're like, my life is so much more fulfilled now, coming from the guy that just told you he hates the summer because there's no basketball.
I just want to throw out there unprompted, guys, baseball is still on and pretty good right now. I'm just
No, the
saying.
Red Sox are playing well. I don't have Nesson.
The Red Sox
They
are
don't
playing
let you watch Nesson on cable. You have to pay for Nesson.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be all the way in. I'm still
I grew
following.
up in
I get
the
the updates
80s.
on my phone.
If you guys read about the 80s and the Red Sox, you'll understand why I am not a fan of the Red Sox or baseball as a result of that.
Yeah. Well, There's not a lot of Nesson here in Brooklyn, New York, and I would probably have to pay extra for it, which I don't want to do. But I do love going to watch a baseball game at the bar with the buds. And Red Sox are not on the bar TVs in Boston a lot, in Brooklyn a lot, but when they are, sometimes they are. Anyway, thank you for this rant, Sam. This is, I think, a great example of
Was that
how
good
the
enough?
steal
Was
is
that
supposed
like
to.
what you guys
No,
looked
that
for?
was great.
Okay.
I think it's a really great example of one of the ways that the steal can be used. Like we've seen, guests come in and ask questions or have a specific take that they want to lay down. But for any future guests, folks, you can truly take the steal in any direction. You can rant about summer being bad, which is an insane take. You can do whatever you want with the steal. That's the point. We'd love to have you on. We hope you can talk about basketball on some level, but for the steal portion, you can do whatever you want with that. Anyway, speaking of steals, the Boston Celtics got a lot of steals last year. They might not be getting as many steals this year. And some other Eastern Conference teams might be stealing some of their top spot mojo. But we're going to break down these over-unders. Let's see. Where did we get these over-unders from? USA Today
For the
Network.
win.
Yeah, for the win. And then, so let's see. Yeah, I'm just looking at the rundown. I'm just vamping here. But the point is this. We have the over-unders. They're here. We're going to go one by one, quick, around the horn each. Everybody get a chance to say, do they agree with the over-under? Do they disagree? And then are they going to take that over or under? So it's 3 parts each. Do you like the line or not like the line? And then are you going over or are you going under? We're going to start not with the Boston Celtics, but a team that has been heavily involved with the Boston Celtics offseason, the Atlanta Hawks, who acquired Kristaps Porzingis and a bunch of other guys. They're clocking in an over-under of 46.5 wins, which would be a nice little jump for the Hawks. Sam, you're going to go first. What do we think of this line? Good, bad, just about right?
It's probably about right because it could go one way or another, right? With Porzingis, now that we talked about it, sometimes he's just not out there. Sometimes he's not able to give you all the great things that he is about. But I like Atlanta a lot this year. I think they made really good moves. I think the Porzingis addition is a good piece to put next to Trae Young, who struggles defensively, thrives in the pick and roll, pick and pop. Porzingis really can amplify the good things and mitigate the bad things of both of those for him. And all of their young guys are going to have another year under their belt. They're going to have another opportunity to take a step forward over the offseason. So, yeah, I think it's a fair line just because there is an unknown with Porzingis. And besides him, they don't have very many big guys. They have Okongwu. They have Asanul. And then they have Muhammad Gay, who hasn't played very many games in 2 seasons as a pro. So it's fine, but, they don't have the deepest rotation there.
Just for context, this would be 6.5 more wins that the Atlanta Hawks won last year when they were a 40-win team. Daniel, over or under, and why on the Atlanta Hawks?
I'd probably say maybe a little over. I honestly like that line, 46.5. I think that's pretty fair. Maybe I'm falling for the off-season champs bait a bit, but I like their roster better on paper, and I like the Porzingis edition. I mean, like Sam was saying, you don't know what version of him you might get, but the East is pretty weakened compared to last year. So I think there's room for them to make up some more wins.
Justin, over or under 46.5?
So what you guys have all been saying is all true, including I think they really nailed this one in terms of the number. But for me, I'm going to go just slightly, like 46 wins instead of 46.5. And that's just because not only Kristaps, but Jalen Johnson, they both have not had very good health histories throughout their entire career. They are both coming back into largely a pretty different team than either of them were on, even though that, Johnson didn't change teams. Than they were last season. And there's going to be an adjustment period, and they need to be healthy to hit that number, in my opinion, mostly healthy. So I think it's pretty close, but I'm going to shade it just a little bit.
Well, it's time for your resident Hawkstimist to come into the chat. Folks, you guessed it. I'm slamming the over on the Atlanta Hawks for what seems like the 4th year in a row. I don't know what to tell you. I love all of the offseason acquisitions that they made. I think they're going to be a much more competitive team in a weakened East. Trae Young quietly had a very good season last year that I think not many people cared about, but he was quite strong. And I'm just so in on Jalen Johnson if he can play a whole season for this team. I was really liking his game last year to the point where I thought he should have been an all-star prior to him getting hurt. I think this Hawks team is going to be really good in a weakened East. I could even see them eclipsing 50 wins if things break the right way for them. Vegas has the Boston Celtics, who we talk about a lot here on Havlicek Stole the Pod, at 34.5 wins, a precipitous decline from their 61-win season previously. Sam, what do we think about this line?
It's 34.5. The sheet says 43.5.
43.5, yeah. Still a pretty
43.5.
significant decline.
It definitely a significant decline, but it changes my opinion of like where I think the line should have been. I think this is probably a little high in my opinion. Like I don't know. The Celtics are an enigma right now because we don't know what their team looks like. We don't know how the new guys are going to fit. We don't know how it's all going to gel together. We don't know how great Mazzulla is going to be without like Tatum there and all the other talented players that won't be on the floor this year. With that being said, like it could go fine. Like Jaylen Brown's a fine player. Derek White's a great player. Peyton Pritchard proved that he's ready for more opportunity and he's going to get it this year. Anthony Simons, who it does not sound like he's going to get traded this summer, despite, all the rumblings that he is going to be there. And he's a quality player too. Their front court depth is not there. Boucher helps that. I don't know. I think those guys are going to be juiced up because they don't want to be the other guys next to Tatum either. But at the same time, it's so easy to imagine them having like a dumpster fire season where things just continue to go wrong. If it was up to me, I'd probably say less than this. I think it's under. I don't know what I'm rooting for, which is appropriate for the line. Like they could be a playoff team, but they also could be a lottery team. And I think we'd all be kind of happy about that. At least you'd have something to show for all of the pain and hardship we've had to deal with over the last 2 months, 3 months, whatever it's been.
For context, last season, 43.5 wins, or I guess, 43, whatever, would get you squarely into that play-in spot, 7 seed in Eastern Conference. Daniel, you're up. Boston Celtics over or under 43.5?
I'm going to say over. I don't think it'll be like ridiculously over. Like, will they win 50 games? I don't know. But I will preface it by saying one injury, hopefully not, of course, but like Derek White or Jaylen Brown, something like that happens, it's over. Just then they're going under for sure. But at the moment, like Sam said, it's pretty confusing. We don't really know what they're going to look like. But if they stay healthy, I think they can surpass that. Jaylen Brown's always wanted to lead a team. Here's their chance. And then Derek White and Peyton are great guys to have around him. Sam's still there too. Simons, who knows? I think he'll be there as well. So they have some offense. The defense is going to take a hit. But the East isn't great. It's not bad, but it's not like as good as the West. And I think that could work in their favor. But I'll say cautiously optimistic over.
Dr. Quinn, over or under Boston Celtics at 43.5?
I think this is another really good line as well. I'm going to nudge the over just barely for the same reasons as Daniel, but it's very tenuous. Again, just want to reiterate, anything goes wrong health-wise, we're going to be eating these predictions pretty easily.
And that's why I'm taking a slight under. It's just going to be so hard for this team if any health issues happen for them. And it is an 82-game regular season with fewer guys that Joe Mazzulla, I think, will trust to give them significant burn. Let's be real. They lost Defensive Player of the Year, first team, second team all defender, a former all-star, the best backup big in the league in Al Horford, who again has not formally left yet, but everybody thinks he's gonna. And most importantly, their best scorer, their best rebounder, and their best playmaker in Jason Tatum, a first team all NBA guy. You can't lose, as well as Luke Cornett, good backup center. You can't lose that much talent out the door and expect to have quality results. Yes, the East is weaker. Yes, there are some guys on the team who might get better, but I really do not see it. And I think, again, there's an argument that the Celtics might not even be trying to win that many games this year. Speaking of a team that's not trying to win many games, the Brooklyn Nets are clocking in at 20 and a half wins for their over-under, a pathetic number that would be worse than their 26 and 56 campaign last year. Justin, you're going to go first. Brooklyn Nets over or under 20 and a half.
So let me just start by saying that teams like the Brooklyn Nets are one of the reasons why I went over with the Celtics, because there are 3 or 4 teams that are just so bad in this conference that it would take a pretty serious injury to have them leapfrog you. That said, I think this line is criminally low with Jordi Fernandez coaching them. They have a lot of players I like. I think they have a lot of players that want to prove things. They also have a lot of really young, not good rookies that they will be playing pretty significant minutes. So I don't think it's an outrageous line, but I think that it is too low by a couple of wins at least. So I'm taking the over.
Sam, over or under the Brooklyn Nets, who are just a stone's throw away from my apartment, 20 and a half.
I think you should go under. Like, unless you really think the 5 point guards they drafted are going to move the needle for them. They just haven't done anything to, like, make you be like, oh, okay, like, yeah, they're going to try and be better. They're going to take a step in the right direction. Like, it's going to come together for them. Like, there are other teams on this list that have low win totals that I feel that way about, but not this team. Like, they've done nothing. They've just continued to be the team that's not the Knicks in New York. And that's their thing. Their jerseys aren't even good. Like, they've got nothing.
Daniel, what are we thinking? Over or under Brooklyn Nets?
I'm going to say slightly under. Kind of like Justin was saying, like, is this team truly trying to win? I think give it a year or so, and this number is going to be a lot higher. Like Justin was saying, Jordi Fernandez seems like a good coach, and hopefully they can develop their younger guys and find some studs. But yeah, they're the worst team in the Atlantic Division, so I'd say a bit under. Not egregious, but a bit.
I would love to say that the Brooklyn Nets going under 20 wins would affect their ticket prices, but let's be real, nothing in Brooklyn will ever affect the Brooklyn Nets ticket prices because they're just always going to be too expensive. Yeah, for me, this team doesn't make any sense at all, guys. They have like 8 guards. They have only Michael Porter Jr. on the wing, and then they have Nick Claxton as literally their only playable center. Like, it's going to get ugly. I really don't see it. Even if they were trying to win, the roster strikes me as so fundamentally unbalanced that I would find it very, very hard to see a path towards them winning more than 20 games. And particularly because their 2 best players by a mile are Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas, who, man, both of those guys.
Maybe not even him.
Yeah, those guys really, really need the ball to be effective, and it just feels like it's going to be a really tough year for the old Brooklyn Nets. But who knows? Maybe I'll get some cheap tickets out of it. Speaking of teams that are potentially lined up for a tough year, the Charlotte Hornets are clocking in at 25 and a half wins on the over-under. Justin, I'll go to you first. What do we think? 25 and a half for the Hornets and Charles Lee?
It's really tempting to just poo all over the Charlotte Hornets because other than the Chicago Bulls, they might be the worst run franchise in the league, but they do have new ownership and they do have some new talent coming in. If they are healthy, which is admittedly a fairly big if, I think this is a low number for them. Even if they aren't super healthy, I think they could probably beat this by a little bit, but not by much. So I'm going to go just slightly over.
Daniel, are LaMelo Ball's fans on TikTok right to be in on this team to the tune of over 25 wins?
I'd agree. Yeah, I would say slightly over too. I mean, LaMelo's coming back. They got Sexton, kind of flew under the radar. Brandon Miller hopefully can take another jump. I like him a lot. Are they going to be good? No, but I think they can at least shoot better than 25. maybe sneak in like a play-in spot, 10th, 9th or something. I don't know. The East is pretty unpredictable at the moment, but I would say, yeah, just a little over.
Sam, what do we think about the Hornets and their campaign to win more than 25 games? Last year, they won 19, for context.
It's not bad. It's almost a quarter of the games.
Yeah.
Pretty decent. I think of all like the really bad teams, I think Charlotte is the one that I think the most of. That I think has like, they have at least like a little bit direction. Like Grant Williams is coming off like an ACL tear, but like they have quality-ish role players around LaMelo. Brandon Miller is like due to take a little bit of a leap if he's ever going to do it. They had top 4 pick. They drafted Concanipple this year. They drafted Kalkbrenner, who was a guy that we were all looking at here for a long time. Like, I don't know, like they have a reason to want to be competitive. Like LaMelo is certainly not going to be there forever. You heard like the rumblings earlier in the summer where Lonzo was on some podcast saying they were trying to get him to go play for the Clippers, and Charlotte is not a desirable place to play. And if you want to make it desirable, you have to win. So I think the organization is trying to at least, put the pieces in place. That coaching staff is quality. A lot of those guys are part of the championship coaching staff here. Charles Lee mentioned, Jermaine Buckner's there. Blaine Miller, who is the main Celtics coach that went to the finals that season too, is there. Like they're not the sexiest for all these teams, but I think they have like mid-30s potential maybe. The East is also just not good. So that plays into it.
I agree with you. This team was absolutely crushed by injuries last year. Injuries to their 2 best players, literally, in Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball, just completely derailed their season. Listen, Yusuf Nurkic is not like a great big man, but he's perfectly acceptable for setting screens and getting downhill. They made some moves to get Colin Sexton, in free agency and trades. This roster, this is not like a roster of complete bums. If they're healthy, there's a chance that they can put some stuff together. To me, it feels like an easy over. I don't think that the Hornets are. I don't think they're like a playoff team, but I do think that the Hornets are better than 25 wins in a weakened Eastern Conference. That just feels like it shouldn't be too hard. Speaking of things, teams that things are pretty hard for, the Chicago Bulls are clocking in at 31.5 wins. I'm going to take first crack at this one. Guys, this team stinks. It's really bad. I don't think there's any way that this team is going to win 30 games. I think that they have lost a lot of talent. The talent that they have kept is aging and miserable. There's no point to them being there. I'm still shocked that Nikola Vucevic is on this team. Convince me that this team is not under 30 wins, because I don't see it. Anybody, go first.
You're right. Sorry. I'm taking the under on this as well. This is just a disaster of a team, disaster of an ownership group. I don't know how much blame we should be putting on the front office, but at some point they need to say no or find a new job. Yeah, it's hard under.
Yeah. Daniel, Sam, any further thoughts
Under.
on the Chicago Bulls?
Yeah, they stink.
Yeah, you're not going to get a fight from me on this one. I mean, Billy Donovan's still the coach. It feels like they're just treading water. I mean, they're selling up their games. They're doing that at least, and I think that's why they're kind of just content with being mediocre. And their draft pick got absolutely destroyed by Johnny Furphy too on that poster, which is just so
tough for Noah Senge. Very tough.
Yes, just tough optics to even start the season.
I really don't see it with this team at all. Jerry Reinsdorf is selling out every game, and that's what matters to them. So good luck, Chicago fans. At least the Cubs are. Oh no. Well, wait a minute. Anyway. So moving on to a team that should actually win some games. The Cleveland Cavaliers had the best record in the Eastern Conference last year at 64 wins. They're currently clocked at 56.5 wins. Sam, what do we make of the Cavs? They had an interesting offseason. They acquired Lonzo Ball. They let Ty Jerome walk. They didn't trade any of their key guys. They're bringing back their core 4. What do we think?
Must be nice not trading your guys away. See, like, I feel very skeptical of the Cavs. Like, I thought the wins last year were kind of phony. Like, they kind of proved it in the playoffs. Not to say Indiana wasn't a good team. They clearly were. They almost won the title. They might have done it if Tyrese doesn't get hurt in the title game. But at the same time, as fraudulent as I feel they might be, the rest of the conference is terrible. Like, the whole conference got worse. The Celtics are not there. The Celtics are not a team that they're going to have to see for real this year. So I think the line is fair. Probably go slightly over it. I don't think they're going to win 60-plus again this year. I think that would be a tall ask, especially considering, like, they're going to be trying to gear up for a playoff run and keep everybody rested and so on. So I think that might play into some losses that just kind of sneak up on them. But I think over is a fair, but I don't feel like super strongly about it.
JQ, Daniel, what do we think?
I mean, Sam answered it pretty perfectly. I would agree. I don't think they got better per se, but like Sam said, the East isn't as good. It's wide open for them to take again. And yeah, they might slow down a little, which could hurt their win total, but I don't think they care as long as they get like a top 2 seed. Just hopefully they don't fold like last year, because that was tough.
Justin?
Only thing I would add to that is their entire season, not in terms of the outcome for them as a franchise, but in terms of over-under, probably depends on the big toe of Darius Garland, which doesn't seem so great right now, but also is a pretty weird, I guess it's not that weird in other sports, but in basketball, turf toe is not a very common injury. Neither is smashing your jaw on a screen and having to miss like multiple months of an NBA. He just has really bad luck. So I'm going to bet maybe he will get some other weird injury, but it won't be the turf toe. So I'm going to take the over as my roundabout way of saying I think that everything you guys said is completely true. But another sneaky team where less important milestones will probably be decided by health.
Feels like if this team is healthy, they have it in them to take that over. I would have them probably at around 59 or 60 wins. Listen, Donovan Mitchell at a certain level just provides you a pretty high floor if he's on the court. That guy is a monster basketball player, as we have seen time and time again. Evan Mobley just continues to progress and get better coming off of a Defensive Player of the Year campaign. I think with another year of kind of seasoning in Kenny Atkinson's system, this team is going to win a lot of games. It might not matter because they might flame out in the second round again, but they're going to win a lot of games in the regular season. It's an over for me. The Detroit Pistons won more games than we expected last year, and they did that to the tune of 44 wins, which is right around where Vegas has them at 44.5. They're saying more of the same for Detroit. Sam, what do you think?
Oh, man, I love the Pistons. I liked them last year. I liked them the year before. Like, I thought the year that they were, like, the franchise worst, I thought it was going to be their year to take a step forward. I think they go slightly more than this. I didn't love their offseason. I think the whole Beasley thing really hurts them. He was a big part of what they did. Losing Hardaway Jr. doesn't help either. But they did bring in Karis LeVert, who's similar, and Duncan Robinson can hopefully give them what Beasley gave them, at least a little bit of that in terms of the shooting. Internally, you hope Cade goes up another level. You hope Jaden Ivey comes back healthy. You hope Jalen Duren plays well too. Star Thompson is another guy who could just really help elevate things for them. I think there's like more to be optimistic than pessimistic about, but I would say like probably like 45, 46. Like I don't feel super great about it. I think the line's a little high, but maybe it's perfect because I don't feel good about it. I think that's what they want.
Daniel, thoughts on the Detroit Pistons?
Yeah, I would say slightly over. Is this a championship contender? I don't think so. Are they a top 4 in the team in the East? I mean, maybe, given what next year could look like and how all the teams have changed. I like Duncan Robinson. Shout out New Hampshire. I like that addition there. But yeah, they got their core. They still have Cade. I think they'll be fine, and they'll be looking better than a lot of the other Eastern teams.
JQ, any additional thoughts on the Detroit Pistons? Over, under?
I think they got slightly worse in terms of the makeup of the team this offseason. I think they will probably collectively grow enough to more than make up for that by a little bit. So I think this is a pretty apt line. I'm going to take a slight over as well.
This line feels dead on to me. I mean, I feel like Vegas really crushed this one. 44 wins feels almost exactly right. I guess I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for Cade progression, Asar progression, and give him a slight over. I do really like Asar Thompson, and I think he's going to potentially be very, very good for them this year. I also think I was, despite losing that series to the Knicks, I was pretty impressed with how they played that series. So I think I'll take that slight over. But again, 44 feels pretty darn close to what we're looking at. The Indiana Pacers won more than 44 games last year. They won 50, but Vegas has them losing a lot more at 38 and a half. Daniel, you got this one first. Over or under Pacers 38 and a half?
Yeah, this one's kind of tough too, because they're in a similar boat to the Celtics where they're not going to have their main guy, and what is it going to look like now? But I would actually say over, maybe slightly over. Maybe Pascal Siakam tears it up on his own. I mean, they don't have Turner anymore, but they still have guys who prove themselves in the playoffs, and they got a great coach. Maybe they have a chip on their shoulder for everybody counting them out already. I still think they have some stuff to play for. Will they be in the playoffs? Maybe, but they wouldn't be a high seed no matter what. And their season's kind of dead in arrival like the Celtics might be too. But I'd still say over.
Sam, Pacers over or under at 38 and a half?
I think they go under. Losing Miles Turner is like a sneaky, tough thing for them to deal with on top of not having Halliburton. Siakam is a great player, but they really lucked out trading for their pick like the day before Tyrese hurt himself. They got that back. They nailed that one. So now that they have it, kind of enables them to tank. They, like the Celtics, can come away with something for their troubles if they do it right. And I don't know. I don't see anything that's going to elevate them super highly over some of these other teams. You know, it's not like Boston where you're like, man, I feel great about Jalen, Derek, Peyton, and like you can kind of go down the list. Granted, like that's our team. We're experts on them. Like Indiana, like you feel pretty good about Siakam. Mathurin can contribute. Neesmith can contribute. But like I don't think those guys are all at the same level as players like Pritchard and Derek White and even Simons for that matter. So I don't feel great about them, no.
JQ, what do we think? Is Corey Waldron going to be having a bad time this year?
I don't think he is. Honestly, this is the first time I think we've had some serious disagreement. I am slamming the over on this. And the reason why is because
let's go.
The reason why is because this is a very different team in terms of how they got to where they got last season. They aren't going to be able to compete with the top level talent without Miles Turner. I strongly agree on that. There's just no chance, particularly without Halliburton. Maybe there was a shadow's chance in hell that they could, had they retained Turner. I do think they're going to get a better lottery pick than probably they expected, but I think that this is shorting them 5 to 8 wins, maybe as much as, just because the team still makes a lot of sense. You know, they still have Siakam. They still have several other bigs who can fill in behind him, Toppin and several others. They have Nembhard. They have a very wide variety of players who could really like spread their wings. And then, you know, like let's say Mathurin really pops, but his style of play doesn't necessarily fit because he's not as much of a team player as some of the other guys on this roster. Now they have this great like trade option that they can use to bring in the next big man if they don't feel they have the next, you know, like 5 out kind of a big man that they lost with Turner. So I think that they are still built to pick up a lot of regular season wins, like 40 something ish, but the question is, you know, they can't lose like any of their heavy minutes bigs, I think, and still be viable. But as long as that doesn't happen, I think there's a pretty good chance they are still going to be like a 5 seed down to maybe at worst an 8 seed.
This is so interesting to me as the resident Andrew Nembhard liker on this podcast because I'm slamming the under on this team. I actually think they're going to be worse than this. And I think that we laid out the reason why. This is the best shot that they're going to get at another lottery pick in the Tyrese Halliburton era. And I don't think they're going to let that go to waste. As much as I think There is talent on this team in Nembhard and Nesmith and Siakam. As much as I think Rick Carlisle is an excellent coach, the reality is that the Pacers have no incentive to win this year. If anything, they have incentive directly the opposite way. I think they pretty much have to get this pick, and they have to get a good player with it in order to make this core sustainable, given that Miles Turner is out the door and that Tyrese is out for the year, almost certainly. I just feel like they have to get that pick, and so I think they are going to do that. Let's keep it moving. The Miami Heat, my least favorite basketball team and sports team of all time. Here we are, 36.5 wins. They got Jimmy Butler out of the door. Last year, they wound up as the last play-in team, 37 wins and a humiliating beatdown at the hands of the Cleveland Cavaliers, which I enjoyed watching, I'll say it. They are now clocked in right around there at 36.5 wins. Sam, you're first. Miami over or under 36.5?
Under. I think they suck. I feel like they are like premium Chicago Bulls this year. Like they have no direction. Bam and Tyler Hero are fine if they're like supporting cast guys. Don't really think they're doing much for you as like the needle movers in terms of carrying the team. And I just don't see it for them. The only argument would be the East sucks, which is very fair. But for them, there's nobody on that team that you're like, wow, yeah, that guy is going to be the 30-point per game guy that really is most improved conversation, MVP conversation. And that's the kind of guy you need on a team like this that isn't that deep. That's the thing. I mean, they might miss Jimmy, maybe a little bit. Maybe they miss him.
Justin, I see you scratching your chin there. Is there a 30-point guy on the Miami Heat roster that you'd like to bring up?
I think there might be now, considering there was a guy who was that guy for a large chunk of that last season in the Western Conference for the Los Angeles Clippers in Norman Powell. I do think that Khalil Ware is going to need to look like a starting center this season for this to work. But as long as he is anything close to that, I think that this is a pretty obvious over for me.
Daniel, we've got one under and we've got one over. What do you think? Miami Heat, 36.5.
Yeah, I think the line's pretty fair, but I would go slightly under. I mean, yeah, Norman Powell's good. I definitely agree with that, but I think he's essentially their only like roster change or only one of
significance. Yeah.
Yeah. So that just doesn't really move the needle for me. I mean, Andrew Wiggins kind of seems checked out. Like he got his ring. He's getting paid. I don't think he's really in full competition mode. The whole Jimmy Butler has definitely been felt. And I don't know. I kind of agree with Sam. There's not a ton to get excited about with this team. Maybe Bam takes a huge leap, but he didn't really do it last year when he had a chance to.
They won more games than this last year, though. So
they
that's
won
my thing.
exactly half more games.
It's more games.
Year. That is more games. I'm going to balance the scale and go with Justin on this one. I think this is an over. I think it's an over for a couple of reasons. One, I really like the Yakashunas pick. I think he's NBA ready. I think he's going to fit like a glove in what they're trying to do. I think Norman Powell is a pretty good player who can provide a lot of downhill pressure for them, which they really did not have after Jimmy Butler left last year. And guys, Eric Spoelstra is a demon from hell, and he will find a way to just grind wins out of this team. To me, with the state of the Eastern Conference the way it is, with some fairly solid acquisitions, they are not a finals team. I don't even think they're really a true contender, but I do think they're going to win more than 36 games. It's an over for me for sure. The Milwaukee Bucks fancy themselves as a finals contender, and maybe they are after adding Miles Turner and shedding Damian Lillard. We have them at 44.5 wins for this over-under. They also added Cole Anthony and extended Gary Trent. Justin, you'll go first on this one. Milwaukee Bucks, over or under 44.5 wins?
Better roster, worse conference. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm going over. Not much, but a little over.
Daniel, your thoughts on the Bucks offseason and whether they have more than 44 wins than them?
Yeah, I was going to say something pretty similar and pretty simple. They got Giannis, and he doesn't seem to be going anywhere at the moment. And that's more than a lot of Eastern Conference teams can say. Like the Pacers and Celtics, they're down their 1A guy. The Bucks still have him. Are they going to be a serious contender? I don't know about that, but I think they can at least go over 40, 44 wins.
Sam, Bucks, 44, over or under?
Their second best guy is Miles Turner, and then Kuzma.
Yes, unless
Right?
you're a really
not
big
forgetting
Cole.
anybody?
Well, unless you're a big Cole Anthony or Gary Trent or Bobby Portis guy.
No, I think I'm going under on them. I think like there's a chance Giannis gets upset and leaves, even though we've heard that every
That's
year.
a big deal. Yeah.
So like I don't know, if he gets traded, they're not going to win a lot of games, or if he gets hurt, they're not going to win a lot of games. And when he's not on the floor, they're not going to be very good. And when the rest of the team isn't very good like this, it makes it a lot harder for Giannis, where he's getting attacked by 3 defenders every time he hits the paint. Nobody's afraid of the other guys on the team. I think they might like sneaky be mediocre bad, but the rest of these teams suck, so I don't know.
Yeah. And that's exactly where I'm going. The rest of these teams suck, guys. And the Bucks ultimately still have Giannis, who is, I think, overwhelmingly still the best player in the conference.
Yes.
And still a top 3 player in the NBA, given that his usual foils, the Boston Celtics, are likely going to be out of commission this year, as well as their arch rivals, the Pacers. To me, it feels like a Bucks over. It feels like I still do not know if I buy them as a finals team, but I think they're going to just churn through some of these games. Speaking of teams that churned through a lot of games, the New York Knickerbockers, who won 51 games last year and then had a monster run to the conference finals, are clocking in at 52.5. They added some guys in Jordan Clarkson, and somebody else, I think, I'd forget who. They extended Mikal Bridges.
Yabu
Gershon Yabusele, of course, great. Who is a good fit for them, I think. And then they, of course, extended Mikal Bridges. Jalen Brunson seems thrilled, happy to be there. What do we think about the New York Knicks? I'm going to go first because then I'm in New York. Why not? Yeah, to me, this is an easy over. I feel like the Knicks are well built to win regular season games. They have a really talented roster. The Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson fit has been really good. Again, their postseason chops worry me a little bit, particularly if teams really start to hunt that pick and roll action in a postseason series. They are not matchup proof by any means. But listen, the Knicks basically have a 2-year window. They have it right now, and they have to show something for it. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure and a lot of motivation. We should mention that they did fire their coach, Tom Thibodeau, and bring in Mike Brown, who I think is pretty comparable. I'm taking the Knicks over. I think they're probably somewhere in the range of 54, 55-ish wins. That feels like a slight over to me. Sam?
I really wish I could go under. Hate them, hate the fans, don't think they deserve happiness. I think it is going to be over. I think you make a good point. Regular season team for sure. They have far more depth this year. If they need to rest guys or somebody gets hurt, they have plenty of bodies who will be ready to play, quality players down the bench. It's not like last year where you look at the bench, you're like, wow, these guys kind of suck. No, I think they are built to win 53 or more games for sure.
Daniel, Knicks, 50. Let's see, what was the line? 52? Yeah, 52.5, over or under?
Yeah, I'm joining the over train. I'm a little jealous of their offseason, getting Yabusele and Jordan Clarkson. I like both those moves for them. And they kept their core. There's a coaching change, but I don't really see that affecting them too much, at least in the regular season. So, yeah, I'd say over.
JQ?
Somebody's got to win games in the East. I think they're going to be doing a lot of that. I'm taking the over.
We know they're going to be playing on Christmas per Shams against the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Boston Celtics will not be playing on Christmas this year. Really quickly, breaking news. It's Spurs, Thunder, Cavs, Knicks, Rockets, Lakers, Mavericks, Golden State, and the Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets nightcap. That's going to be an awesome game. Anyway, it's not the Western Conference. It's the Eastern Conference that we're talking about. A much hyped offseason for the Orlando Magic, who made a big swing going after Desmond Bane. Out of the door is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Cole Anthony. The Magic seem like they are in it to win it. Vegas has them at 50.5, a big jump from their 41 wins prior. Sam, you buying the Magic?
I am. I think they are built for it. They're going to have better health this year, you would imagine. Jalen Suggs will be back. Paolo might take another step forward. He was very good last year. He was excellent in the playoffs against Boston. It was really impressive. I think as a whole, Orlando is going to be more ready to compete. Desmond Bane joining the squad definitely helps that. They're going to have more shooting next to Paolo, make it easier for him to drive without more defenders swarming him, punishing guys for abandoning Desmond Bane and so forth. Yeah, I like them. I think they could end up being the best team in the conference this year, depending on how things go in Cleveland.
What do we think about Boston's first round nemesis from last year, JQ, the Orlando Magic, over or under 50 wins?
I'm glad to hear that Sam thinks that there is a chance that they could be the best team in the conference. I think that that's also true. I haven't really been hearing a lot of that. I think that if either Franz or Paolo develops a reliable three-pointer this season, then they're going to tear like a hot knife through butter through the Eastern Conference. I think that this is pretty accurate given we don't know how much the other Wagner, Mo, is going to be, and he's probably going to be pretty important to them in terms of the big men depth. I think 50.5 is another pretty good line. I'm going to go slightly over, but just like 51 wins.
Daniel, Orlando Magic, you feeling it?
Yeah, I'm saying over too. Funny you mentioned the first round because I feel like that's when I kind of got a preview of Paolo, and I was like, wow, like, he's looking a little unstoppable at moments like this, even against the reigning champs. So yeah, in the Eastern Conference, it's not as good. I think it's a pretty easy over.
Yeah, it's a hard over for me as well. I was very impressed by the Magic in their run last year, and I think they have gotten substantially better. I really like the Desmond Bane fit. Not much more to say on them. Hard over. I like it. The Philadelphia 76ers had a pretty dismal campaign that was much discussed. Paul George came in the door and led them to 24 wins, a ton of injuries, and there has been some not so promising news on the Joel Embiid front this offseason. Multiple reports saying the knees are cooked. And yet, much hype around the third overall pick, VJ Edgecombe, who's had a pretty nice summer league, seems to be a pretty good fit. What do we make of the bizarre Philadelphia 76ers? Sam, you get first crack. They had 24 wins last year. They're projected to have 43.5 this year for Vegas. What do we think?
Man, I really liked it for Philly until we started hearing all this Embiid stuff. Like, people were skeptical about Embiid early in the summer, and I was like, well, I don't know. He'll be back, right? Like, he's had enough time. Doesn't sound like it. They're worried about him being ready for training camp, which isn't very good. Thought it could have been a great like reward getting Edgecombe in the draft, and then you get all your guys back, and then you have like almost two groups of guys that you can depend on your team. I still think I like the over. I'm so used to freaking Prize Picks. I'm sorry. Over on this. I don't know. I think this is like a good opportunity for them. They shouldn't squander it. Like, Celtics are not there to stand in their way. Go for it, Philly.
Daniel, what do we think about the 76ers and that 43.5 line?
Yeah, they're, as always, kind of a weird team, but I'd still say over. I mean, they got Maxey. Embiid, who knows? Paul George, he seems more of a non-factor at this point. But the rest of their guys are kind of solid. I mean, people forget about Jared McCain. Hopefully he'll be back, and he could have been the rookie of the year, honestly, if he didn't get hurt. But in the week in the East, I would still say over despite the hell falls.
JQ, the unending mystery of the Philadelphia 76ers. What do you have for them?
Well, it's about time that we have a team in the Eastern Conference that we can all overestimate in the same way that we do every year with the Los Angeles Clippers in the Western Conference. Maybe we have Paul George to thank for that, like not just, for the literal reasons. I do think that they are going to be better than they were last season considerably, even with a considerable chunk of their payroll not being able to play at the level even close to what they're being paid for. But I don't think this is the year where they start like edging back towards being a realistic postseason team, even if it's through the play-in. I think they're going to be a little under this, though not by too much. Probably like 39 wins, I would say.
Comb those edges back, per Justin Quinn. Such a hard team to figure out. Man, the Sixers make no sense. I am going to go, and this is totally going to blow up in my face. I'm going to go slight over. And my rationale is this. I think, to your point, Daniel, there are now enough real players on the Sixers that I don't necessarily know that it matters all that much if Paul George and Joel Embiid are going to be out for extended periods of time. You know, I think Embiid more so than Paul George, right? Embiid is ultimately something of an irreplaceable player in terms of what he's able to do when he's healthy. But, you know.
Who else are their bigs besides Embiid? I mean,
Andre Drummond.
Yeah, and like that would be several
Yeah.
years ago. That would be, as a UConn guy, I'd be the first person to say, yes, this is great, but he's not the same guy anymore.
He's not. A big thing for me with them is, are they going to bring back Quentin Grimes, who I think was actually quite good for them last year? You know, I think he can really play. They badly need some big help because Andre Drummond in the year 2025 is probably not going to get it done. That being said, they have a lot of players that I like. You know, I like Quentin Grimes. I like Jared McCain. I think VJ is a very good pick in many respects. Tyrese Maxey, we've seen that guy play. The roster seems really unbalanced in a number of different ways, but the East is terrible. And I just think they're going to have some random games where it's like Maxey and McCain both score 30. And it's like, all right, well, I guess we lose. I'm not sure how, but I guess we did. Man, I've taken the very slight over, like just barely. I think it's like right around 44 wins. The Toronto Raptors are projected to win 36 and a half games for Vegas. They won 30 last year, so this would be a nice bump for them. Still wouldn't be, you know, an incredible season, but it would be better. Are we buying the Toronto Raptors? Let's go to you, Daniel. What do we think? 36 and a half?
Yeah, I put under down for this, but now I'm like maybe over. I don't know. They're another team where I'm not quite too sure. Quickly's hopefully coming back. Ingram too, who we haven't seen with the Raptors really. And they got Scotty Barnes, who's one of the better players in the East as well. I don't know. They're kind of a weird team, but maybe I'll give them the slight edge to over given the rest of the teams in the East, but I don't know. This is a tough one.
Sam, what do we think about the Toronto Raptors?
I feel like the Toronto Raptors are a deeper Miami Heat. So I think we go over on this, but like only slightly. Like I don't think maybe they'll be a play-in team. Like maybe they'll just be lurking around there hoping to get in. Don't think they'll be very good. I think they'll benefit from the East being bad, though they are part of that. But there's like not as many like just dominant teams that are going to be at the top that you have no belief in the bad Toronto teams being able to beat, if that makes sense. So I think we say over on this one. Like there are guys that have a little bit to prove, like Scotty Barnes is starting to get people skeptical about him. Ingram just got a new contract. They're paying a lot of guys a lot of money that people probably don't want them to pay that money, and those guys might want to prove that they deserve it.
Dr. Quinn, what do we think about what's going on up north?
They're still a bad team, but the East is really, really bad, and they are better than they were last year. So I think this line is really close to the line. I'm going to take just slightly over, but I'm not real confident about it.
I'll tell you what, I have the Toronto Raptors pegged as my classic fake good team. I think this team is going to win over 36 games. I think they're going to like potentially even qualify for a playoff spot. I think people are going to get really hype around this core in a down year for the Eastern Conference. And then I think it is going to blow up in their face because that is what happens with the Toronto Raptors. I think it's a hard over for me with the caveat of playoff meltdown incoming. Book it here first. Speaking of meltdowns, we will conclude here with the melted down remains of the Washington Wizards. 21 and a half wins last year. Or that's the line. Their record last year was worse than that. I'm just pulling it up now. 1 second, dear listener. Yeah, we're looking at a dismal 18-win campaign last year. So this is a projected 3-win improvement, roughly, for the Washington Wizards. Let's see. They as far as offseason stuff, I mean, they got rid of Kyle Kuzma midseason, and he was the worst player in the NBA. They added, who did they add?
Trey Johnson, Cam
Trey
Whitmore,
Johnson. Yeah.
CJ McCollum.
Sure. CJ McCollum. Yep. That's a guy. He's in. I like Trey Johnson. We'll conclude with you, Sam. What do you think? Washington Wizards over or under 21 wins?
Probably under. I don't think they have like enough where you feel like they're going to take a step forward yet. They feel like they're 1 year away from like being lurking around the play-in, if that makes sense. They're going to be bottom feeders again.
Daniel?
I'll give them the slight over. Like maybe they win like 23 games. I don't know. I think they have some positive momentum after the drafts. And I guess they have veteran presence now too with guys like McCollum and Middleton. But they have a weird team. I'm looking at their roster. I'm like, well, what is like the goal here? I guess just to be kind of bad again. Maybe slightly over, but still not anything special.
Dr. Quinn, what do we think? Over under Washington Wizards 21.
I have to echo that. It's going to be hard to lose as many games as they lost last season, and they are better as a team, though only marginally so. So I think like 22 wins, so very slight over.
I'm taking the over. I think the Wizards are slightly better than they were last year. They have some actual adults in the room. I think Alex Sarr is a confounding player, but he showed some interesting flashes last year. I like Bilal Coulibaly. Listen, at some point, the Wizards have to win some games. The law of averages suggests that they can't be this bad for this many seasons in a row. I know that it's happened before. I can't buy that the Wizards are just going to continue to be the worst team in basketball every year. Something's got to give. Yes, their roster is strange, but I don't know. They have some actual adults in the room. And most importantly, they don't have Kyle Kuzma on their team anymore. And Kyle Kuzma was literally the worst player in basketball last year. So to me, the Wizards over. That concludes our Eastern Conference over under round table. Some interesting stuff here, folks. Some high highs, some really low lows. Final conclusions from this exercise, and then we'll get out of here. Let's go you first, Daniel. What do you think?
I guess my conclusion is like, what the hell's going to happen? I have no idea. The East is so weird with the Tatum and Halliburton injuries. Maybe Giannis is leaving. Is Embiid like, okay? We just don't know so much. The West is pretty good. I think we can be pretty certain about that. The East, I don't know. It's completely up for grabs. Maybe the Celtics can sneak in the playoffs in a weakened conference, but they will be weakened themselves.
Dr. Quinn, what have we learned here? What have we even done here?
I think we have learned with all the caveats and asterisks and if this, then that disclaimers that we have put on all of these Eastern Conference win totals is telling us that it might not happen, but we could be on the precipice of seeing the worst Eastern Conference season in living memory, and that is saying a lot.
Sam, what do you think? State of the East and the over-unders.
We may not see like teams bottom out as much as we think just because everybody's bad. So like the bad teams are going to have chances to win games more frequently than they would like last season. You might see like a really big clump around like that play-in spot where it was like the West last year where everyone was in with like 2 games of each other towards the end of the season. That may happen in this conference. It's just going to be really further down. Like the good teams are still good, but the bad teams are just all over the place.
I guess my only conclusion is this. If you are a fan of the New York Knicks, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Atlanta Hawks, the Orlando Magic, any one of these teams that genuinely, truly believes that they have a shot at winning the Eastern Conference and making the finals, boy, you better win it this year because it's not going to get much worse. Anyway, that's Havlicek Stole the Pod, another episode in the books. We will conclude, as always, with something to remember or something to forget. JQ, kick us off.
Sure. So one of the things that has been a recurring theme in podcasts I'm hearing all across the Celtics media sphere is just how perverse it is that we are sitting here being excited for the deconstruction of the team and savings for billionaires and all that good stuff. But it is, as Sam pointed out, really critical in this new CBA environment for teams to not have all of those team building things blocked if you want to contend in the short term, which of course Boston does. And I'm just looking back, and I both want to forget and remember Danny Ainge as a GM. He was the GM for the time. He is the reason why the Celtics have the engine that they do in terms of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. But he also pissed a lot of people off getting deals like that. And towards the end of his tenure, he just couldn't do anything, which was part of the reason he ended up stepping down. And now we have fresh executives in that role doing things very, very, I don't even know, with much celerity, with much fluidity. We just saw a historic tax bill get cut in half, with effectively the sum total being a second-round draft pick, which is pretty freaking impressive because I think we can all agree it would be multiple first-rounders if it was Danny Ainge. So that's what I got.
Something to remember or something to forget, Daniel. Again, reminder, it can be basketball related, it can be Celtics related, it can be whatever you want it to be. Life related, you got it.
Yeah, I'll say let's remember Charles Bassey. With them getting Chris Boucher, I don't know if the Bassey hype train is over. Maybe he can somehow finagle a deal for camp or something. I don't know. They would have to make some cuts. But hey, he played really well in Summer League, and I could definitely see him end up somewhere, but probably not Boston.
Sam, something to remember, something to forget, anything?
Something to remember, Jason Tatum's not coming back. So
yeah,
people on Twitter, or whatever app you use, stop acting like he's playing on opening night. I saw some dude tweet, man, look, he's walking up 3 steps at a time. Like, shut up, dude. Like, he's not coming back. He's going to take some time. Let him heal properly. I think the something to remember should be we should not want him to come back too soon. Let him get healthy. This is a serious thing. The team, even with him, is not really built to be as competitive as they've been in the last couple of years. Like, that's the reality, and people need to just chill and be like, all right, hope he's feeling good today.
Let's see. Something to remember, something to forget. I'm forgetting a lot these days.
Happens.
Yeah, it does. I guess I will close with this. Something to remember is the Celtics having a great streak of Christmas Day games. That was always really fun. I enjoy watching those a lot. I am hopeful that that streak will resume next year. I am a little sad that they will not be playing on Christmas, which means I will have to spend time talking to people and not staring at basketball. But nonetheless, we salute the Celtics Christmas Day games run. It was a good time, and hopefully it will be back soon. Anyway, we will be back soon here at Havlicek Stole the Pod. We have loads of fun episodes coming for you very soon, including next week. Sam, where can we find your work?
Oh, yeah. Every single day on the How About Them Celtics channel, Jack Simone and I are pumping out new content. Full pods are out Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. We have other videos in between during the summer when we're all bored. We're finding something to talk about. So if you're really getting the Celtics itch, you can check us out there. And then the two of us are also on Hardwood Houdini writing articles covering the team that way too. And on social media at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's me.
Nice. Dr. Quinn, where can we find your work?
Well, you either already did or you were getting this telepathically. Also, Celtics Wire.
There you go. Daniel, where can we find your work?
Yeah, you can also find my stuff at Celtics Wire too, or Clutch Points. Just Google my name, it will come up. And I'm at DanielB1214 on Twitter and Instagram too, if you care to see any pictures in my posts.
And you can follow my stuff on my personal Instagram, which I'm not going to tell you. You just have to find it out. And you can also follow me on Blue Sky. But if you're interested in more interesting things than that, you can follow my Band Divine Sweater on Spotify or Instagram. This is the sweater. You can follow him there. And that's more interesting than anything I'm posting on my personal anyway. This has been another episode of Havlicek Stole the Pod. We'll talk to you soon.